What's up, guys? Steven here, back with another video for my comms 4365 class, section 02. The class title is Nonverbal Communications. Today we're going to go over 4 concepts from chapters 10 to chapters 13. And then I'm going to answer some questions at the end of the video. So, chapter 10, it was called Covert Subcodes. It talked about something in the chapter called biofeedback systems. That includes your skin, your muscles, your heart rate, blood pressure, and brain waves. Basically, it's your body non-verbally communicating with itself. There was a part in the chapter where it talked about this experiment that they were doing. They used like a small computer that they would attach to you, and it would actually measure emotional states. So whenever you're feeling an emotion like anger, sadness, your body is giving off like biology and chemicals that you can actually measure. And I think that's really cool because, the brain is a super powerful tool. If you're more aware of what emotions you're feeling and how your body is like physically reacting to it, you can be more aware of how to control those emotions. Honestly, that's something that I would want to try, is that little computer, but I'd be scared it would like hack my brain or something. But on the same topic, I, like many other athletes, go through performance anxiety. I've been an athlete for a long time. I'm an athlete here at Sam. I'm a high jumper, and I've learned that whenever I start to feel nervous, because sometimes I will start to feel nervous because I get that performance anxiety. Instead of trying to use my energy and conceal it, act like I'm not nervous, I just try to let my body relax and accept the fact that I'm nervous and just try to use those nerves. It took a long time for me to kind of get over some of that stuff, but like everything, it's a learning process, and that just kind of goes along with the biofeedback. It's your heart rate increases, your blood pressure, makes you tighten up. You literally feel physically, affects you physically when you're nervous. And most of that stuff is just in your head. So whenever I get nervous, I just try to breathe, like just relax my body and just try to smile and have fun. And usually that works. So yeah, that was chapter 10, Covert Subcodes. Moving on to chapter 11, social situations. In this chapter, it goes over something called intimate behavior. It was called 12 Steps of Courtship, that the reading went over. Basically, it was like whenever two people meet each other for the first time, it went over exactly what they'll think and kind of do whenever they first start talking to each other. So the first thing was eye to body. You look at somebody and how their body is built and everything. The next one was eye to eye. It would be like one person would glance up and then they would glance down. Then the other person would glance up and they would glance down. And then they both look at each other in the eyes and then they would both glance down. And then after that, it would be like they have to get to know each other, learn how much they have trust for each other, and then finally it's like hand-to-hand touch. Whenever I was reading this in the book, it reminded me of like a nature doc where there'd be like a bird dancing on the ground right here, and there'd be like another female bird like perched up on a tree, and he would like do a dance, and then the bird would like kind of look and like decide if they want to mate with each other. And literally reading these 12 steps, it felt like this kid, like, if there should be a show where like it's like narrated as a nature doc, but it's like two people just like having dinner with each other. I think that'd be pretty funny. So moving on to chapter 12, that chapter is communication in the family. In the subsection Space and Territory, they go over a demand of privacy, and they mention that it feels very natural. Privacy is mad important. It's a way to get away from the stresses of a relationship. Everybody needs privacy, even whenever you're in an intimate relationship with someone. What this chapter reminded me of is someone, not gonna say their name, I know that was first getting a relationship with a guy, and she was like, "Oh, I just want to spend every minute with him. I want to wake up with him, and I want to just be with him all the time." Um, and I told her, I was like, that's good enough because y'all first starting, but you have to know that like the best relationships work whenever two people are like the most independent, honestly. And she was just like, no, I just, and I consider myself a relationship expert. No, I'm just playing, I really don't. But yeah, she was just saying, oh, I want to be with him all the time, every second. And I'm like, look, you're gonna want your privacy eventually. And then their relationship, like many others, didn't work out, unfortunately, but I tried to warn her at least. All right. Moving on to chapter 13. This chapter was nonverbal communications at work or in the workspace. In the book, it goes over a little bit about making first impressions with a boss. This reminded me of during the summer I work at a retail store, and we were looking to hire somebody, and my boss was, or the manager, he was, making phone calls, looking through their resumes and stuff like that. And he talked to this guy on the phone. He was really excited about it. He was like, yeah, he seems, really mature, really, like, he seems like a good candidate for the job over the phone. Then, like, 2 days later, I asked him how the interview went. And he was like, I don't know. Like, or he said to me, like, the kid, he wouldn't really look at me in the eyes that much, and he kind of had a bad body language about him, and he ended up not getting hired. So making a first impression on somebody, using your body language, using eye contact is always mad important, especially whenever you're trying to get a position at a job. And he ended up not getting the job, and back then people need to work. So that was the last little chapter that I'm going to go over. The last thing is 3 questions that I'll answer real quick. The first one is most important areas of nonverbal communication. Honestly, my favorite would probably be chapter 2, haptics and tactics. That was the chapter about touch, and that was literally the second chapter. I was like, man, this book is really starting out great. Just because of how there was just so much stuff in there from the the studies on whenever you were like an infant, and then how it moves over to like professional touch, and how it has that what's it called, that spectrum. Honestly, I really like that chapter, and it was like one of the first chapters, so this book started out on a really great note. The next question is what you'll most readily apply. I think probably chapter 5, physical appearance and impressions of the body. That one, it goes a lot into first impressions. It goes a lot into kind of what you wear in your body, how that non-verbally communicates with people. I think that's something that probably will be most used, just because it's the most, I feel like it's kind of the most common. Like, people just see you, and then they kind of know what image you're putting out in a way, just by how, like, your posture and what you have on, and your pretty much just your body appearance. I feel like that's the most readily applied chapter right there, chapter 5. And the last question, how will things you learned improve quality of interactions and relationships? I think that learning about stuff like this is really, really cool, because it just makes you more aware. Everything that we covered, once you kind of read into it a good bit more, it's stuff that you kind of notice, but without really actually reading about it and thinking about it, you don't really think about. Whenever you read about it, it makes you more kind of conscious of it, and you'll kind of see how people always are non-verbally communicating with each other, and you can kind of decipher their messages once you study it more. So I think just everything that I've learned, just being more conscious about it is probably the thing that kind of makes the most impact with me and my, social relationships and interactions with people, intimately, and strangers and everything whatnot. So yeah, I think that is probably the best way to put it, like kind of in general sense. But yeah, this was the last video I'm gonna do for this class. It was a pretty cool book. Honestly, really enjoyed reading about the stuff on here and then reflecting on it in the videos. I like practicing talking, so maybe somebody was listening. But appreciate y'all. Hope y'all learned something from watching my videos. This is by far the longest video I recorded. So yeah, peace out. See y'all.